Alright, so here we are. I said that we were going to react to this video in the last one. It was something to do with the face of the league, and I'm almost more interested in this than the last 2 or 3 I've done because I don't remember almost anything that I said. This is a vid from 6 years ago. I just know that it had to do with the face of the league. Obviously you have those conversations today and it's much different. I still feel like fans are wondering who's actually going to be the face. Who is the face now, first of all, and who's going to be the long-term face once all the players that we've grown up with for the last 15 to 20 years are gone. So I do remember I kind of discussed that here. I just felt as if LeBron and Steph kind of had it in a deadlock. I thought LeBron had shorter time left in the league than he did apparently, and so by this point nobody else had really popped up who could take that torch long term. I think it has something to do with those discussions, so let's go ahead and pop this on. Always fun to see what discourse was like many years ago.
What's up NBA fans, Dom2K on the mic, and I just wanted to very briefly let you guys know that I now have a store open online. I never really had any big plans for merchandise or anything like that, but I was blessed enough to be approached by a company.
Okay, so I'm gonna skip this. This has nothing to do with the video, but I never ever wanted to do my own merchandise. As you see, 7 years later since this vid, or 6 years later, I still haven't. I just never thought I was the type of YouTuber that needed to be selling merch. I just tell stories about basketball. I don't know, maybe that's small-minded of me. Anyways, video time.
Definitely go give it a look. We all know the NBA has its ups and downs throughout the years, but even when it does, it still manages to remain an amazing league. Sometimes there's a huge disparity between the conferences. The way the game is officiated causes people to miss the way the game was played a couple of decades ago, but in the end,
right in the midst of the we're done with the 90s movement. Again, I'm glad it's documented here. This is only 6 years old, and I'm talking about people missing how basketball was played decades ago, referring to the 90s and 80s and tough basketball or whatever. I promise, I really think NBA Twitter has just had so much to do with it. We do talk about how Twitter is not real life. It certainly is not real life, but boy, it has some pull.
We end up having had enjoyed a great product by June one way or another. I've personally been a fan of the NBA for around 14 years now, so it's needless to say I've gotten to see some great storylines unfold. However,
wow, is this my 20th year? Yeah, just about. It really is. I've been watching basketball in some way, shape, or form since 2003, so I guess the last year was the 20-year mark.
As we approach the end of the 2017 season, I've never been as worried about what comes next in the league as I am right now, and that's what we're going to discuss today. If you watch my video about who I think is going to be the face of the league soon, it's pretty clear I believe the league is in good hands for the future. We've got guys like Harden, Westbrook.
Hold on. I gotta. Okay, so this was the so what is this video about then? If this one that I have on the thumbnail is about meeting the new face of the NBA, it kind of feels like I made the same video twice. Anyways, this is hilarious. Giannis, AD, and Harden. I was barking up the right tree. I would say I went 1 for 3 here. I don't think Harden ever got into face of the league talks. Perhaps if they had won in 2018 or whatever. AD, that definitely didn't happen. Giannis, however,
it's pretty clear I believe the league is in good hands for the future. We've got guys like Harden, Westbrook, Leonard, and many more exciting young players lead the way. But the reason I'm worried as time passes is because I feel the NBA hasn't found its heir to the throne at the moment, and that's a big part of what keeps the league interesting from year to year. If you're confused as to what I mean, let's just use recent examples that everyone's familiar with. Dating back to the 1980s, the league has always had at least 1 or 2 polarizing players it could base the seasons around, so coming into those years, you were always looking forward to seeing them and what they were going to do come June. If you don't believe me, this is the exact force that Magic and Larry used to resurrect the league that was pretty much failing at the time when they were drafted. The storyline of those two drove the excitement of the 80s, and before those two even began to age out, Michael Jordan was drafted and started taking over. Sure, he took his lumps before he ever won a ring, but everyone knew deep down that he had next. And then when Michael finally did take over, he was the polarizing player the NBA could pit opposing players and teams against for the story, and that almost lasted for the entirety of the 90s. But just before Michael began to phase out, Kobe Bryant got drafted, and only one season elapsed between Jordan's last championship and Kobe's first. Just like that, the league had its replacement in another ultra-talented, polarizing player that you could always get a story out of. And before Kobe was even close to getting out of his prime, we were lucky enough to have LeBron James get drafted. And although we never got to see these two battle at the highest level, the NBA was trying as hard as possible to push a story that these two would someday meet in June. But even when that didn't happen,
just on the note of that, just how disrespectful the NBA got with it too. The fact that the whole puppet commercial between LeBron and Kobe in 2009, I'm pretty sure that was airing during the duration of the playoffs. And so there was just an assumption with Kevin Garnett injured, LeBron was next up. That's what I was trying to tell people the other day when we were having this discourse, because for some reason we still have LeBron James early career discourse on Twitter, and God, man, fans who just were not there will argue you down about those teams. Now, as much praise as Dwight Howard's Orlando Magic have gotten, I was trying to tell people, okay, but when we were going through it at that time, the Cavaliers and LeBron James, we did not think they were about to lose to the Magic. That was the thing that was going to happen, was LeBron and Kobe. 2009 was the year. The Celtics were more or less out of the way, and you come here 15 later and you see pictures of the rosters next to each other. People are going, oh, so this team was supposed to be this team? I hate to come off this way, but it really is just one of those things you had to be there for. You didn't even really have to, honestly, if you research hard enough. To be on the scope of this video, though, that was just a little bit of a tangent.
The worst case scenario was watching these two wrestle the giants of their own conference, and that was pretty fun as well. But the problem I've detected here is that we've been following the LeBron James storyline for quite some time now, and I'm worried because as things stand to date, I don't think the player who's going to take his place on that throne has been drafted yet, and that's a huge problem. First,
so this was 2017, and I'm thinking of some players that have been drafted since then. I might have been right, maybe. It's also just funny here. I wanted to note how I'm going. I don't think they found a replacement for following LeBron's story. And then he won a championship 3 or 4 seasons after this. I think it was 3 seasons after this, and was probably supposed to be contending for more until he busted his ankle the very next year and then had all the other injuries. The 2021 injury completely destroyed the rest of his time with LA. I think we'll pretty much look back at it with that opinion.
First off, let's make sure we have the guidelines set for the throne, because what I'm saying might confuse you. Sitting on the throne of the NBA takes a lot more than just talent, because if that's all it took, we'd have no shortage of guys to put there once LeBron phases out. But to really be that guy that adds a spice to every NBA season, you have to have some kind of story, just something about you that goes along with the once-in-a-lifetime talent you have, which makes people interested to see what you do each and every year, whether that means you're winning or you're losing. And right now, we have a situation where the NBA has been so heavily dependent on the same player for about a decade with no clear replacement in sight. So it's fair to say back in 2007, when LeBron took his first finals loss to the Spurs, that's when his storyline on the NBA's main stage truly started. The story became that he was the chosen one to bring a title to the city of Cleveland, and at that time he was destined to one day meet Kobe in a final series. That journey took him up against the Boston Celtics, who he couldn't overcome for a good 3 years until he finally had a good enough team in Miami. Of course, the Miami storyline isn't even that old, so we all know about the loss to the Mavericks, his first and second ring, and then the loss to the Spurs that sent him back to Cleveland, where he'd find his new and current rival in the Golden State Warriors. And after 14 long years, the prophecy was finally fulfilled as he brought a title to the city of Cleveland against one of his more bitter rivals in one of the most dramatic ways possible. But while this has all been going on, it's been such a blur to us that I feel that we haven't even stopped to think yet. What happens to the NBA post LeBron? It's a scary thought, because whether you love him or you hate him,
just on the topic of the criteria I was using there and a player and his story, I do want to say I agree here, because one thing I do remember about this video is it's back when I used to be way deeper into the comment section. I believe there's still a comment there, probably with somebody saying they don't care about story, they don't care about the storylines, it's just raw basketball. That's fine. There are some people like that. It's just X's and O's for them. The majority of the NBA's fan base, however, is a casual fan base. And so the guy or the team they can put on posters and put on graphics and such and kind of build narratives and stories around are very important. You cannot just sell basketball with X's and O's. And this is why you have the popular sports people you've had for all these years, and a Stephen A. Smith who will be talking about Zion Williamson being fat during one of his best seasons. That's the discussion. It's just, oh, Zion is fat. Meanwhile, he's having one of his best and healthiest seasons in the league. Yet he continues to draw numbers. Meanwhile, JJ Redick 2 or 3 weeks ago was complaining about how his breakdown of, I done forgot, some team's defense or something of the sort didn't get as many views as him talking shit about Doc Rivers. So to the comment, if it's still on that video, stories matter to the NBA. Might not matter to you, it matters to the NBA. And you even look at how Jokic has been perceived. I think he kind of fits exactly what I said about 3 minutes ago in the video or whatever. And I was saying the controversy, the polarization that goes around a guy with the talent. Jokic didn't really have to go through any of that. He's one of the best players, if not the best player in the league today. Yet he doesn't feed into any of the narrative stuff. He feeds into none of the story stuff. And then he won his championship with very little adversity or struggle. He walked in, he finally had a healthy team, and they did what they were supposed to do. It don't happen that way for every star player or every face of the league type player. They normally go through these things where they have to triumph and climb the mountain, and that draws people. So when we were having the off season of 2023, you realize how little people were talking about the Nuggets championship. I don't know if you noticed, it really felt like the Nuggets championship was one of the least talked about titles I feel like I've been around for. Even though talent-wise, they have one of the most compelling players in history. So I think Jokic very much relates to what I'm saying here. Now that we're in the future, we did get a guy as talented, well, maybe not as talented as LeBron James, but we have a super talented player with none of the story or interest to go with it.
You have to admit that the NBA's parity has almost single-handedly depended on him for the last 7 years. If you don't believe me, just ask yourself this question. If the Cavaliers don't make the NBA Finals this season, which they probably will, what's the storyline going to be? What's going to be that factor that just gets basketball fans all around the world emotionally invested like we have been for the last 14 years? You might not want to hear it, but honestly, the answer is nothing. Take Cleveland away from the East, and in all likelihood, that means an NBA Finals would feature the Spurs or Warriors against Isaiah Thomas and the Celtics, John Wall and the Wizards, or maybe even the Raptors. Now, true basketball fans are always going to enjoy the finals for what it is, no matter what, because we watch the game a certain way. But even I have to admit, there'd just be something missing by watching the finals that doesn't have some serious undertone to it. John Wall is amazing.
What I just said has 2023 NBA Finals written all over it. I watched every game of the series on playback. A lot of us watched it together. It did not have the undertone though. There was no history between the franchises. I would say a lot of fans don't necessarily care about either of the team's star players. Very much more true for the Miami Heat than it is the Nuggets, obviously. And then it didn't help Miami wasn't nearly as talented and everyone kind of knew they had no chance. So you have to factor this in. I would venture to ask how many fans, if we were to take a poll, who wants to see Heat Nuggets 2 though. Granted, in the last month, they have played 2 close games. I don't want it, obviously, even as a Celtics fan. I don't want to see it again. They got there again. Yeah, the Nuggets will win. Yeah, bro, nobody wants that finals again. Even if it was 4 close games, 4 or 5 close games, no one wants that finals again outside of Miami or even Denver. And you think about 2017, what I was discussing there, boy, if you had taken Cleveland out of that conference, ugh. It was still a 5-game series. It's just leading up to it. It was the rematch of 2016. There was some thread of hope, especially after Cleveland had defeated the Warriors on Christmas Day. There was some thread of hope the series could be interesting. I seem to recall Nick Wright saying the Cavaliers could actually win. Go look it up. It's the way the narrative is flipped, you wouldn't know anyone said it. Yeah, still very forgettable finals. Now just replace LeBron James with, as I said, Isaiah Thomas or DeMar DeRozan or someone. Oof.
But there's just no story or drama that comes out of him getting swept by the Golden State Warriors. Or what if we ended up with Toronto and San Antonio? Where would you find an emotional investment in that series if you're not a fan of either one of those teams? I'm not saying we never want to see a finals that doesn't include LeBron, because that day has to come sometime, but what I'm getting at is the fact that this is the guy the NBA has chosen to put a countless number of players and teams up against basically for the entire decade. That's been the storyline that they've made. So he's the draw, he's the guy people want to see win or lose, he's the guy people think about when there's a free agent move. So when Kevin Durant went to the Golden State Warriors, the first thing everyone said was, well, if LeBron somehow beats him now, he's definitely the greatest of all time. And with so many seasons revolving around what happens to LeBron, we have to start to prepare for the day that we can't do that anymore, because it's gonna come sooner than later, and all of a sudden there's gonna be a vacuum where he used to be. Now, I
will say the one thing we've witnessed since the vacuum opened up and he stopped making the finals every year is at least the teams have been good, and it hasn't just been, how do I say, So when he was in the East and his rival, whether it be the Pacers or the Bulls, one of them would get injured, where it was like D Rose or Paul George, some random team would kind of just fill in for them. So on a larger scale, since he stopped making the finals, first of all, we've had different teams almost every year, and we've had multiple good teams. What up? Hell, I'm pretty much just saying parity. Maybe we haven't fully gotten the LeBron, Kobe, Jordan type guy that's going to be in the finals all the time, where people are always going to be showing up to see him lose and having that story. The parity has been fucking awesome, though. I do not miss the days of knowing who was coming out of the East or West in July.
Be crystal clear that I'm not saying the NBA is lacking talent today. As a matter of fact, this just might be the most talented this league has ever been, and so many people are taking that for granted, by the way. But what this league is missing is that next storyline player, or maybe I should even call him the villain. The closest thing I believe we've had to that in the last few years is probably Stephen Curry. He's a guy people either love or hate, with very few in the middle, but the problem here is that Curry has already accomplished so much and his team is so damn good that it's kind of hard to create a compelling villain story out of him, along with the fact he doesn't really play into that role like all the other guys did. Michael Jordan was a trash talker who spent years trying to get by Detroit. Kobe was a trash talker who had a crazy story with Shaq, and therefore people were kind of interested to see what was going to happen after Shaq left Los Angeles. LeBron was touted as the heir to Michael's throne while still in high school, and it took him a good while to finally get that championship. Oh, and yeah, he was extremely polarizing as well. Curry, on the other hand, got his first championship in 5 years, won 2 MVPs in 6 years, and he's now on a team that looks way too good to lose anytime soon. So you get my point here. Curry's really not our guy for that, and the other thing here is that he's way older than a lot of people realize. By the time LeBron retires or even starts to slow down significantly, Curry's going to be in his mid-30s, so he can't be the guy to replace LeBron in that throne. And
as a matter of fact, on this note, you see the game happening tonight as I record this video is Warriors-Lakers, which is a potential play-in game. I say this to say Steph and LeBron are more or less at different ages in the same spot, both on teams where if they want to continue to compete for championships, will likely have to either have major changes to the rosters or find themselves someplace else altogether. So now that we have data on what happened to Steph after this video, we were 6 years into the future, I don't know if I don't know how much I would ever consider him a villain as much as a guy people really wanted to prove himself beyond 2015 and beating an injured team and then winning with KD in 17 and 18. What hurt there too was Steph didn't care for that spot at all. 2012 Braun or 2011 Braun actually spoke of how he proudly wore the black hat and he thought it negatively affected his game. He didn't like playing this way. Still, he wore it. He played the villain role. Steph openly welcomed KD to the Warriors and said, I don't care how many shoes we sell, how many jerseys we sell, I just want to go win championships. By extension, it meant he really didn't care what anyone said about him welcoming KD to his superpowered team. And then Durant became the villain. He took all the blame. If you think, I feel like nobody talks about how in Golden State's KD era, I guess we call it the KD era, he took all the shit for this super talented pairing. And yeah, he just really caught a raw deal because Steph went on and won without him, which is important to this video, I believe. Again, even when he did so, he wasn't a villain. It was more just, oh, can he win and can he beat a healthy team when everything isn't stacked in his favor? So I more or less agree with what I said here.
And as for the other great players we have today, they're amazing hoopers, but none of them bring that story or that mission type element that the NBA needs to push them the way all the other legends did. So if I can kind of clear this up, I think they had something with Kevin Durant last year before he joined the Warriors, because him trying to get past Golden State would have been something to see for years to come, but being that he went and joined them instead, I think that kind of erases any storyline or legacy talk that we were gonna have. And that's the NBA's biggest problem today by a long shot. It's not the soft fouls or figuring out what to do about conferences, it's finding that next player or the next players that
we were just sort of discussing KD in the last pause. And yeah, it was kind of an age thing with him too, probably at the time I made this vid. Him, Steph, Braun, you get the feel they're going to retire around similar times. And even now, if you wanted to say, okay, the Suns, or if the Suns today were a lot better than they actually are, I think KD would kind of fit the criteria for what I'm talking about in this video. How old is KD? He's mid-30s. He's probably not got a whole lot longer left. So if he would have stayed with, okay, well, I mean, if he would have stayed with OKC, he'd have never been a villain. He was very, very, very loved as a player when he was a member of the Thunder. League-wide, he was the good guy. So I don't even know if he fits it. Maybe if he hadn't gotten injured and left Golden State and went out on his own mission, he could have had the premise of this video for a couple of years. Still, age thing.
That's going to carry the NBA story for the next decade or so. If I still haven't been clear enough for you, I'll lay it out in the simplest way as possible. Russell and Chamberlain, Bird and Magic, Jordan and the Bad Boy Pistons or any 90s elite team, and Kobe and LeBron. In a nutshell,
and I do know I have this video on my channel somewhere, right here to where Len Bias is supposed to be. It's so fascinating when you look at it at one picture and you go, Jordan didn't have the one guy long term to go up against for his career. I guess it was supposed to be Clyde Drexler at a point, and that got shut down.
Those are the elements that have been at the heart of any NBA era that fans cherish. And the crazy thing is, we do have the talent to actually make something like this happen. So we have James Harden and Russell Westbrook playing right now, and I think the biggest issue that I'm going to touch on closer to the end of the video is that they play in the same conference. And
not only do they play in the same conference, they would go on to play together multiple times.
And in that conference, you have it's very, very top heavy. So you have the Golden State Warriors at the top. And although you do have them and they're amazing players, they're either going to take each other out or lose to the Warriors in the postseason. We pretty much know that. So when June comes around, that's something that complicates having a story that doesn't involve LeBron James in it, because it has to be LeBron versus whatever team is coming out of the West. So while virtually all the LeBron story has been compelling in the last 14 years, it should concern you that at this moment, there's not really a polarizing player that we're pointing at to take everything over in the way we were pointing at Kobe to be the best after Jordan was gone.
I will just say, for the strictly X and O truthers who would argue none of what I'm talking about here matters, go check how many times people will say, damn, the league's just not gonna be the same once LeBron, Steph, and KD go. It's because we don't feel we have their torchbearers. They're one-to-one torchbearers, you know? As I explained in the vid, Kobe and Jordan one-to-one, Kobe and LeBron one-to-one. There are very, very talented players and even interesting players in the league today, and it still just doesn't feel there's a one-to-one. And also what's missing from that, I guess as we're at the 2024 season, we kind of are just now getting the guy or guys who may qualify. We have Wembanyama. He signals a total evolution in basketball, the one-of-a-kind guy, right? LeBron was one of a kind when he came in. KD was one of a kind. Wembanyama is one of a kind. Maybe that's why I'm repeating myself in the video I made here, because I was trying to get around to a term that could encapsulate it. Maybe by the time LeBron, Steph, and Durant have sat down in the rocking chairs, Wemby will have gotten a whole lot better. We'll have a contending team around him, and will maybe, it depends on a lot of factors. Basketball-wise on the court, he's going to accomplish what I'm talking about here. The story, we remain to be seen. I wouldn't describe his personality as too bland right now. Either way, he's a perfect candidate. And it took this long to get it, I would say. I can't make that statement without discussing a Luka Doncic, who definitely has his fair share of detractors. He just really hasn't gotten so far yet outside of the random 2022 run. Then all the technicals he gets and how many people he pisses off. Yeah, Luka for sure. If the Mavs ever actually start contending, he's got something to say here. But Wemby is the one I would say for sure. Victor Wembanyama is the player I was looking for when I made this video. As I understand it, I think Victor Wembanyama is what I was looking for.
With the crop of amazing talent we have today, the NBA is going to have no problem finding a new best player once LeBron is gone. But from the viewpoint we have right now, looking out into the future, it's going to have a problem recreating the stories it's been able to push time and time again through all the decades. That one player that gets every basketball fan emotionally invested into the season. And on that note, I'd like to leave you guys with a scary thought. I never wish injury on a player, but should something happen to LeBron today the way it happened to Kobe, what would we have to look forward to for the foreseeable future? At this moment, it looks as if the Warriors would have free reign over the league for quite some time, and even with LeBron fully healthy as we speak, it's looking like it's going to take another injury-riddled postseason for the Warriors to lose again. And this problem is partly...
Whoa, wow. For those of you familiar with the Dom curse, holy shit. I damn near wrote, this is 2017, I damn near wrote the next 3 to 5 years of LeBron and Golden State. However, I was referencing an injury to LeBron then and there because the East was weak and there's just nothing you could replace him with. By the time he started to accumulate him, it happened slowly enough for the league to kind of find its new teams and such. But boy, listening to that last sentence right there is eerie. It's going to take another injury-riddled postseason for Golden State to lose again.
Created by the fact that most of the players that could prevent this problem play in the West, and that's what I was talking about earlier with Westbrook and Harden. So for example, if the Spurs played in the East, problem partly solved. If something were to happen to LeBron or he just wasn't in the league at all, we get a Spurs-Warriors finals, and although Kawhi Leonard is quiet and unmarketable, it's still an amazing series of basketball and it has a storyline to it. But the facts are that the placement of power isn't like it was when Jordan temporarily retired. When Jordan went out, there was a lot of other superstars people wanted to see on the big stage anyways, like Ewing and Shaq, so that held people for the 2 years he was out, or not the 2 years, the 2 years he was out of the finals. He wasn't retired for 2 years. But if something like that all of a sudden happened to LeBron where he retired, if that happened today, the Warriors would probably have a monopoly, being that no other East team could really handle them in a series. When Kobe went down that night with the Achilles, the NBA officially became LeBron's league, and the focus was solely on him. But you all should be prepared for the event that LeBron is abruptly taken from the league. Who would the NBA pass the throne to in that terrible event if it happened tomorrow? Just food for thought. Anyway.
So when LeBron did get injured in 2021, I think that was the first time it was us as fans experiencing him actually hurt, and damn, this is going to affect his team season. It's hard to remember. The Lakers, they had a magnificent chance of repeating then. So LeBron goes down, the Clippers have their injury in the playoffs, everything kind of defaulted to the Phoenix Suns. Again, there were good teams left. What do people say about the 2021 finals though? Or what did people say about the 2021 finals when we were there? I enjoyed it. Hell, I even thought team-wise, it was nice. We had never seen Chris Paul win a ring. We'd never seen him get close. You had a young Devin Booker, Giannis on the other side. I thought, I did not know why people were saying they weren't interested in the NBA Finals. Yet I have a video right here kind of discussing if LeBron is just abruptly removed from conversations he was in at the time. What do you do then? What is the interest? And so I wouldn't say Los Angeles got a real chance to defend the 2020 title. They did. They got in. Obviously, LeBron wasn't the same and AD got hurt. So no, they really didn't get a fair chance or a real chance to protect it. And then, yeah, we got a finals people at the time talked down on. I don't know how fans feel about Suns Bucks today. I will say I've never, along with Heat Lakers in 2020, I don't recall people lining up during the regular season to watch Milwaukee and Phoenix rematch. It certainly didn't have that type of draw.
Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if LeBron's duel with Paul George the other day was any indication, the NBA's product is safe for now. He's still kicking it at a high level, and he should be there to contend with whoever the West produces at least until around 2021, worst case scenario. But be on the lookout for the next player.
Yo, that is not cool, bro. Who am I? 2021 worst case scenario. Went to the Lakers in 2019, won a title in 2020. We just had the convo about 21. Oh boy, insane.
That's going to be captivating us for the next decade. We really need to hope that the process does work out in Philly, because they look like they have a very good core that could be good for an extremely long time and take the East over from LeBron once he is gone. Of course, we hope things work out in Milwaukee, and just hope that in terms of superstar players, the conferences even out some, because it would be nice to have a Harden or a Westbrook on the East side, just so that you have something else in the event that LeBron isn't there. You have something to go against a powerhouse like the Warriors or Spurs. We still have a story in June. We just need something like that, in my opinion. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like, comment.
Is that Darren Williams in a Cavs jersey? Oh man, wow. Hopefully the process works out. Crazy, I didn't even mention Boston at this time, and it's because, again, it was 2017, led by IT. I never believed in that team, so if you ever think I'm capping when I say I love the Celtics, but I never believed in them that early on, I didn't think they were supposed to be seen as contenders, I didn't. Then they traded for Kyrie, you drafted Tatum, rest is history so far. Yeah, I did need to mention why they aren't featured here, though. It's because I was always kind of looking at the Isaiah Thomas upcoming contract situation going, so is he actually going to lead them, especially when LeBron seemed like he was going to be in the East forever? Wow. Funny video, man. Funny, just especially at the end there, looking at some of the expectations versus what happened. I will say overall, and if you even go back, maybe I can find it in this video where I was looking at the pictures of the players in the era. Here we go. What do you see here? You see players that at one time or another in their era, I don't know when the conversation started or stopped, at one time or another though have flirted with GOAT conversations probably, or close to it, top 5 conversations. It doesn't have to be GOAT. People like to nitpick. top 5, top 10. And so I guess I would say overall for this vid, this is kind of what I'm talking about. From era to era, this is what I was worried about. You got Wilton Russell, Bird Magic, MJ, LeBron, Kobe. In 2017, I was kind of worried, well, once LeBron goes, who is that next either guy, as you have Jordan here, or guys? It's going to take it over. Again, it was 17. Maybe I should have had LeBron and Steph here as well. And looking forward to the 2020s, I was just going, who are they? LeBron already had, his run had been so long, it felt it was ending soon. And so I was just going, who picks it up? And not just talent-wise, story-wise. In 2024, I would say there's a couple of candidates. I would say solidly, though, Wembanyama probably captures what I was looking for here. Even if his personality never comes off as polarizing, he is going to demand the attention. Him and his teams are going to demand the attention of both casual fans and hardcore fans. Meanwhile, you can't ignore he does like to drop hard quotes. It's not the same situation where it's, you know, Jokic or Kawhi say really nothing. They just go out and play basketball and occasionally win, or in Jokic's case, do a lot of winning. Wemby this week dropped a quote about how Rudy Gobert is going to get depoy this year, and then next year his turn is over. That's the shit I'm talking about. On top of the talent, those headlines that hit the media make people go, all right, what is this player about? I think you understand it by now. Anyways, this was an interesting watch. Even if I don't exactly know what a video is going to be about and reacting to it, it is oh so fun to go mid to late 2010s and hear some of the names and scenarios we're discussing. So I will keep doing this. If you have a video or an old video of mine you would like to see me react to, even on this channel, just DM me on Twitter or Instagram. And if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, comment, and sub, while hitting the bell next to my name if you want a notification every time a new video drops. Appreciate you watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.